You're listening to the AfterBuzz TV network, now the largest new media platform on the web, and your #1 source for after-show entertainment.
Very good, King Johnson.
From the AfterBuzz Studios in Los Angeles, California, presented by Maria Menounos and Bing.com, and streaming live thanks to Akamai Technologies, this is AfterBuzz TV's Real World After Show. We'll break down tonight's episode and get you all the latest news and gossip. If you'd like to buzz in on tonight's show, you can buzz us at 424-256-1729. That's 424-256-1729. And now, another post-game wrap-up show for your favorite TV show. It's AfterBuzz TV's Real World After Show.
Yo, what up, AfterBuzzers? Bing is for doing, and we are here doing another AfterBuzz TV After Show for the Real World Portland Heartbreak Hotel.
Is that right, DJ Jesse?
Oh, wrong.
It is Nicolette. Oh, is it my talk?
Yeah. Oh.
Anyways, Nicolette is getting reckless today.
Shout out. Young and Reckless, you know what's up?
Bye. I'm DJ Jesse, joined in studio by Nicolette, Gaona.
The only, the one and only, what's up, y'all?
Drea, Renee.
Hola, ¿cómo estás? Hey. I did.
All right, Selena.
Hola, ¿cómo estás?
Como la flor.
Oh my God, don't get me started.
We won't.
Como la flor.
Oh, all right, guess you stop. She done stop. Well, speaking of singers, we have a special guest on the line. We have the one, the only, Anastasia, Queen Bird.
Hey, girl.
Hi. How are you?
How are you feeling?
I'm okay. I'm all right.
What was it like watching this episode for you? Obviously, there's a lot.
Wow. I don't have as much vocabulary as I want to use for this episode. It was difficult for me, simply because there's a lot of backstory that you don't see in this episode, and it's partly due to me. It's due to things that I refused to reveal as I was on the show, but it was painful simply because I don't want people thinking that I was flipping it. I mean, are you guys going to ask questions? Because I don't want to get into it before you're ready to.
No, I mean,
tap into that.
I want to hear about your relationship with Mark first. Like, how long have you guys been together? I mean, I'm gonna be real with you. Were there drinking problems? Like, what was it that sparked you to get so upset? I understand, like, being over someone. Obviously, you know, you hadn't seen him in a while. You wanted him to act right, but the alcohol really got under your skin. Was there a drinking problem before?
Okay, I'm going to get into this with you, and I will be honest with you, and I will be real with you, because that's what I do. I'm an honest person. First of all, I know you're not huge fans of me, which is quite disappointing, because I know that as far as the show is concerned, I'm mostly the most moral one out of the show. So it's kind of just, I'm not going to lie, I've watched your show. It's disappointing me, like some of the things you guys have criticized me on.
But wait a minute, if you've said that, then you also know that we were rooting for you. And, well, let's talk about that before we get into Mark, actually. Because beyond...
Yeah, let's do that. Because I'm going to be honest with you, I've been actually very disappointed in the feedback that you have all given me on the show. I really have been.
All right, good. Well, that's what this is for. This is the platform for that.
And so you have to understand, this is Nicolette, by the way. How are you?
Hi. Yeah, you're my least favorite fan, I guess.
You know,
what's going on, girl?
And this is really what it is. You know, I sit here and I watch, and I know, you know, the type of girls that I would normally hang with, and it just seems like to me, you know, you're switching over to two different sides, and to me, it's kind of like you're not being upfront and real with Jessica at the time, you know, and that was one of the episodes that really bugged me, because I feel like, you know, you were really. You and Jessica were really close at the beginning of the episode. And, you know, I really liked your all's friendship, actually. And then when it started, you know, Avery started to get a little bit more close with you. You totally cut Jessica off. And I just felt like that was really Mean Girls. Like, I really... it's like really high school to me. You know what I'm saying? I feel like you guys are really high school.
I can understand, but like, I mean, like high school to me, honestly, is criticizing me over a red hat that I'm wearing in whatever episode is them wearing it. Because I mean, I know you bitches talked about that for like at least.
We did, Bert. We were not feeling it with that hat. We did go in on you in that hat. You right.
But you know what?
Listen, I don't give a fuck. Like, you'll see me walking around in like bookie ass shorts the whole fucking time. But I mean, when it comes down to it, like, here's the thing. Like, editing is a curse and a blessing in many ways.
Yeah. I agree.
Many ways. And I think if each one of you would know me on a personal level, I'm almost positive you would like me. However, I can see with the last episode how you think I'm a mean girl. Do you want me to get into the backstory of that? Because I would love to tell that tale.
Yeah, and I want to set it up with this. Like, we were rooting for you at the beginning, because it just seemed, especially with the Jordan thing, we really like Jordan. We kind of can see through him and see why he is the way he is, which personally I felt you were able to do in the house. What started to upset me was I felt like, and obviously when the whole thing with Nia happened, you kind of had like a change or a revelation of what was going on with Jordan, but it just kind of seemed like everyone was beating up on Jordan. I'm sure he's not the easiest person to live with, but even when you would have conversations with Nia, and you can actually either stand up for Nia at this point or even stand up for Jordan, but I was disappointed with you as far as not kind of talking to Jordan, or when Nia would sit there and say to you, like, I'm going to destroy this guy, I'm going to, make his life a living hell. To me, it was just like you just sat there and listened to it, and it just didn't seem like you. I felt like when you hang out with a certain person, and maybe it is because you're loyal to that person, you don't want to go back and tell someone else, what's going on. But it just kind of seems like when you hang out with Avery, it's like, well, forget Jessica. When you hang out with Jessica, you kind of mold to Jessica. I mean, so from that point, where did it kind of go wrong with Jessica?
Okay, let me tell you a little tale of what really happened on the Real World.
Please,
let's get real here.
Let's get real.
First of all, Anastasia was never a team player on anybody's team during this entire season. My goal as a human being was to come on the show and get to know people that were different from me and try to understand them. And I did that. However, the way that everything is shown is it's different than the reality of what actually happened. Coming into the house early on, probably, I would say honestly the first week, Jessica was very harsh into the house. She sounded very spoiled. She was very rotten. She was just rubbing everybody the wrong way. And I know at least 3 to 4 roommates that will attest to that. To the fact that Jessica drove everybody nuts off the bat.
You ain't got to stress that, girl.
Including me. And this was something that was addressed, that we spoke to her about. Marlon called her a prima donna several times. I've said to her, you need to tone it down. The roommates, they don't understand where you're coming from because you don't seem genuine to them, and yada, yada. I addressed that. So the thing with the last episode, the fact that it looks like I am not saying anything about it, I had said something to Jessica prior to this, several times. I mean, we all had a talk with her, and, Jessica's whole thing was, I came from a very secluded southern town. I didn't, I haven't really been out in the world. I haven't gotten to know anybody. All of that was fine. That was her explanation for everything. However, I will say, though, because, this is the truth of the fact. This is reality. What actually happened is that we all confronted her on this. Everybody said something about it. You dominate. You make everything about you. You don't listen to other people. You don't listen to what they're trying to say. And so it was addressed. I can see where in the last episode it looks as if I'm being a mean girl. But the thing is that, like, my issues with Jessica, I had talked to her about them previously. And I feel like with editing, they made it seem like it kind of came out of nowhere, but it was really like a weeks upon weeks buildup of just crap.
So it was kind of like by the time it got to you, it just really got to you, and you just really didn't give 2 fucks.
Because it did look like it came out of nowhere. I was like, well, all of a sudden she hates Jessica.
Well, I didn't because, I didn't. Because,
No, that's good.
Well,
That's fine.
Because that whole thing with the chalk and her name, I was like,
was
come
so
on,
sad.
y'all.
Like,
For
y'all really
real.
left
What y'all
her in the
doing?
chalk.
Y'all just left Jessica. She's like, I'm going to write my name.
You talking about the motocross thing?
Yeah.
Yes.
Her name was included in that chalk drawing. Everybody's name in the house was included in that chalk drawing. They just happened to clip it to where it was Avery and Anastasia first, and then we added everybody in afterwards.
That's the thing. Oh my
See, that
gosh,
editing that we were going
The
in.
motocross thing, let me tell you, like the motocross thing, we hung out with her all motherfucking day long. We were with her. We sat on the bench with her. We talked to her. We listened to everything going on with her. They happened to take clips that had me and Avery hanging out and where, I made some cocky bullshit comment about Jessica, but they clipped it to where it was so beyond what actually was going on in the moment. It was never like, let's exclude Jessica at motocross.
Well, Lady Wawa and Lady Gaga.
I actually made comments about how amazing she was at how great it was that she could get up on the bike and do that and everything, and I made comments about that, and I said that it was great, and I said it was wonderful, and those you do not see that in the episode.
Yeah, they took that out.
All right, important question. Who is Jessica sleeping with at MTV to make her edited in this light? Because we didn't see any of that as far as the whole house kind of turning on. I see it on Twitter. I see it on Twitter.
I don't even want to. I don't even want to touch that. But I've seen that's been a funny comment thrown around between everybody.
Oh
but
my God!
Seriously, Johnny will attest to it. Avery will attest to it. Marlon will attest to it. Several people, even Naya. She'll get on there and she'll defend Jessica in that moment because in that moment Jessica was very heartbroken and whatnot. But even Naya had her moments with her where she was like, girl, you have to just shut the fuck up.
I know.
She did
told
say
us
that last week.
I mean, yeah, that girl, she takes it way through the TV screen.
Well, she talks about she's never had a female friend. Then she befriends you in the show. Did you feel any type of way, or were we kind of over exaggerating? But in this episode, when you were about to leave, she took the opportunity while Avery was crying about you to kind of go to Avery and be like, "Hey, did you ever kind of see that as being manipulative in Avery of almost like, oh well, Bird."
Yes,
like it was not about you.
I love how at the beginning of the episode she goes, "Me and Avery had a misunderstanding last night, bitch. You were in the bathroom saying, look at her with her shit-eating grin and blah 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 blah." Listen, okay, I am all about okay, people have misunderstandings, people disagree. That's the way of the world. Everything works that way. Not everyone's going to like each other. Not everyone's going to grow to love each other. However, I just not owning up to your mistakes is something that I'm very frustrated with in this house.
Gotcha.
I think there's a lot of people who have made many mistakes and said a lot of things that
Who are some of them?
Terrible, and just don't own up to it. Well,
Who would you say are some of those people?
Jessica.
Other than Jessica.
Well, this is what I will say. I will say that you will never hear Anastasia calling anybody a whore. You will never hear Anastasia calling anyone a gold-digging whore. You will never hear Anastasia making fun of somebody with one hand. You will never hear Anastasia calling somebody a one-handed green goblin. You will never hear Anastasia calling anyone fat. You will never hear Anastasia calling anyone ugly. That's the difference between me and the other roommates.
She just came in and
because I believe if you have a problem with somebody, you sit down, you talk to them, you understand what is going on with them, you try to, at the least, try to give them some sort of reasoning to why you're feeling that way. And then if you work through it, you work through it. If you don't, not everyone's going to like each other. That's the way it is.
It's funny how you've been edited within the past, let's say, maybe 4 episodes, kind of in this team player, switching teams in a sense.
Yeah.
When we get to this episode, it's back to the old bird who, is like, no, let's let everybody talk. Let's hear the other person's, opinion. And then we get to see your relationship with Mark. And your reaction was, I've been there before. With the initial, just being annoyed and, you want to say what you want to say. But then it kind of got, do you feel you went overboard, or, you know, where do you feel like you should have drew the line?
Or do you feel like there was a line to be drawn?
Yeah.
You need to. Are you ready? Because you're going to hear the real story, the true story, the 100% fact story.
We are
behind
ready.
this entire
Please,
thing.
girl,
I'm
clear
ready,
it
and I
out.
just want to say one thing though
You
before
should feel good because you're the first people that I'm giving this to.
Exclusive, AfterBuzz.
And I just want to say though, before we get into this, that I was holding my breath the whole time because I've been in that situation before, and I was like, I really hope this girl does not leave. I really hope she actually puts her mind right and straight, and so I give you props for that, for doing that and
Thank you.
staying. So
Yeah, we
I
all did.
appreciate that. I do. I
Yeah.
appreciate that. It was a hard situation to be in. Let me just get into it with
Okay.
you guys. So, Mark, something that you do not know and something you do not see is that my ex-boyfriend, I am not currently with him, I'm not with him anymore, told me a few days before we went on the show, basically that he had an issue with substance abuse. And this is not alcohol, this is something else.
Okay.
And you don't see that in the episode. And you won't see that in the episode because I was very careful my entire time in Portland at protecting that information and not letting that get out, because this is somebody that I was in love with, and this is somebody that I wanted him to get help. I wanted him to solve his situations, and I didn't want it to be the show. I also had family that I was thinking about watching the show, and that's not the way that I wanted everybody to find out about this. I wanted him to personally get help for his situation, and that's really, I really don't feel like I have to say anything else, because that was my boiling point and my tipping point with this whole thing is when he came out there. I knew that he was using, and on whatever. I'm not going to get into the details,
Right.
but he was in a bad place in his life, and that is what I was disappointed with. And so my whole thing was on the show, I was trying to not let this get out on the show. I didn't talk to my roommates about it. I didn't talk to anybody on the phone about it. I didn't email anyone about it. This was something that I was carrying on my back the entire season, and ultimately, it stressed me out and made me a nervous wreck more than anything.
Yeah.
But the thing about it is when I'm having that conversation in the bed with him, this is after the bar owner of that bar. First of all, there's a lot of clips you don't see. He was extremely wasted.
Yeah, we were wondering about that because I was like, well, he didn't even do anything. Why was Bird tripping?
Yeah. No, I understand, because the thing about editing is I refused to let them know about this issue. And so they took what they could to work with, and they worked with it, because they had to make some sort of a storyline out of it, because I refused to give them that information. And so I understand what they did. I don't, it's not the reality of the situation. It was actually like a 4-day drag-out thing that happened, but I see why they did it.
That makes more sense, Bird, because we were thinking all the time, like, Bird is so sensitive about stuff. And then with your boyfriend, I was like, he didn't even do nothing. He was just dancing.
Well, listen, I'm not gonna lie. I'm absolutely sensitive.
You are a little sensitive, Bird.
This was something. This was something that I truly cared about him as a human being.
We could see that.
And I wanted him to get help, and I wanted him to help himself. And at the same time, and here's another thing that you haven't seen, and I don't know if they even will show, but a huge part of me on The Real World in the 3 months that I filmed was I talked about my father, who is an alcoholic. And I talked so much. I was in interviews crying. I was bawling my eyes out. I talked about, my father is an alcoholic and has been in and out of jail my entire life due to this problem. So it's a sensitive subject with me. So when somebody close to me who also has another set of issues comes out and deliberately gets wasted and deliberately makes a fool of himself, which you don't see, but it upset me. It absolutely upset me because that's a huge part of me. That's a huge sensitivity to me. And, I mean, I think between those two issues, that's where it became... That's where it became me trying to talk to him in the bed. And the whole thing with me trying to talk to him in the bed, that was like my code to where I know what, because like I said, I was not going to talk about his drug problem on television.
Right.
And I really give you props for that.
Yeah, me too. I respect that.
I feel like we've seen a bunch of Real World shows, and I mean, that's probably the first time that nothing like that has gotten out on the Real World.
Right.
Like you really, that kind of shows like what type of person you are. You know, you're loyal and like really trustworthy when it comes to that, because that's crazy.
I zipped it up in a suitcase and I put that shit under my bed, and I did not. I mean, you couldn't hold a gun to my head and I would say anything about it. That's how I felt in that particular moment. I refused. I did not want it to be a part. I did not want it to be him. This is a different story because I feel like it's honesty. Now I'm being honest. I have an extreme issue with when people ask me like, what the fuck just happened with you and Mark, and I can't explain myself.
Right.
Like, I really do feel like I have the right, and as a human, I should be able to be honest about the situation. But at the time,
I mean, that's kind of putting him in exposure. You guys are in a relationship together. That could have totally like went firebomb.
Well, and I want you to actually, if you want to, you can do this, but to kind of take a moment to, obviously you said you're not with him anymore, to kind of use this platform to kind of reach out to people who are going through the same thing.
Yes.
When you're in
I would love to do that.
If you're in a situation with someone who obviously can't control themselves, when did you start noticing like, okay, this isn't good for me? I mean, obviously you guys have been together for a really long time, and he seems very dependent upon you. You know, just the phone calls that he was making, I need you here, I don't know what to do with you not here. You were coming back in 3 weeks. And so I felt like you leaving was you taking that moment of like, I have to save my baby, like almost a motherly instinct. One thing that I learned with these types of relationships is, did you feel like you had to be with him? Like, there is no leaving him. Like, maybe you had thought about it in the past, but there is no leaving with him. I'm stuck because if he leaves, something bad could happen. Did you ever feel that that emotion of
Listen, you spoke to me. Stuck is the key word in this situation. It is absolutely stuck. Stuck is the key word because going into this relationship, this is another thing they haven't talked about on the show, but I talked about regularly, was right before the show in January of that year, I had a very close friend pass away in a drinking and driving accident.
Oh, wow.
I mean, listen, like, I understand the show. I get, what's going on, whatever. But I do think that there's a lot of things that I've talked about on the show that could have been very helpful to a lot of young people, especially our generation, because I've been through a lot. And I think it's unfortunate that my voice thus far has not been heard on these issues, because obviously this is why I have a sensitivity with people who go overboard with drinking. I had a close friend die in a drinking and driving accident. My father is an alcoholic. It's very close to me. These situations touch home with me, are very emotional with me. I think that if I were to speak to women who are in my situation or in my situation on the show, this is what I will tell them. When you are, because of me, I'm going to get emotional. I'm sorry.
No, it's okay.
You're going to get me emotional.
I'm going to get emotional.
I'm over here like getting emotional with you. I'm like,
just bear with me, guys.
Oh,
like oversensitive bird.
Do it, bird. Fly, girl. Fly. It's okay.
I really think that in this situation, the way that my childhood and the way that I was raised, I definitely have a sort of fix-it mentality. A lot of things have gone awry with parents and marriages and et cetera in my life, and with the alcoholism with my father. I think, like, I want to fix somebody, I want to help somebody, but sometimes when it's affecting your life to the point where you're unhealthy and you're feeling sick and you're feeling nauseous and you feel abused, it's not, you have to say goodbye. Mm-hmm. And my big thing with this is I wish for young women and for all women to hear me and understand that you can love somebody, you can care about somebody, but you cannot make that person change until they're ready to change, until they're ready to fix themselves. And for me, with the whole thing, I wanted so desperately for him to be healthy and happy and good. And
which is why you broke down. Which is why you broke down and cried and went and chased him at the hotel.
Yeah. Well, yeah. That. Well.
Well, no. I'm just saying because I want people to relate the visual from the show to what you're saying. And that to me read that action. That's absolutely why I went to the hotel. And actually, given with editing, I actually waited there till 6 in the morning, and he did. And the cameras had left, and everyone had left, and he came sauntering up with a broken suitcase and wasted, and this is like 6 a.m. in the morning, and had a huge fight with him to the point where he was pushing me off of him and yada, 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 all the way up the elevator. This is why the hotel concierge got actually involved in this. It wasn't because of anything other than the fact that they saw a situation that could have been domestic violence. Up the elevator into the room, and you hear clips, you hear pieces that they've pieced together. I took my microphone off actually in the hotel room and put it in the bathroom. So what you hear is the little clips that they actually had gotten, but basically me up in the hotel room with him pleading not to do this and to stay, and because the worst thing in the world to me would have been him would have been ending things terribly there and not helping him. I wanted him to get help. I wanted the situation to resolve itself. I was very upset. I'll be honest with you. When I'm pleading with him in the hotel room and I'm saying, "You love me, right?" Because the backstory behind that is I'm saying, "You love me, so you'll get yourself help." And,
okay.
Yeah. Because I don't get me wrong. Listen, I stayed far too long in a relationship that was very unhealthy, and I hope that women don't do this to yourselves. That's all I'm going to say.
And
don't do this to yourself.
Would you say that the real world is something that helped push you to realize I can't do this anymore? That the fact that you have the 3 months.
This situation, the 3 months that I was there was so much of a huge smack to my face and a huge clarity and a huge eye-opener, so much more than you get to see. And it's frustrating for me because I watch it and I think my experience was so different than this. Like, for example, like after the Jordan and Naya fight, the original one, I actually had to sit down with the roommates and I talked about alcohol and how when people are drinking way too much, how fights can get out of hand. And I talked about my friend who died in a drinking and driving accident. I talked about my father. None of that is shown.
I wish they would have shown that.
Yeah, me too.
What was that?
I said I wish they would have shown that.
I wish too, and I think a lot of people would have wished that because that's the real Anastasia. That was what was going through my head. I'm not a prissy girl. I'm not like uncomfortable around all these situations and blah, 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 blah. I really, truly I have a thing with alcohol, like people who go overboard with that. And I know where it can lead to as far as arguments and as far as, disappointments and everything else. And I really do wish that people would have seen that side of me.
Well, I
don't
feel like
know.
we saw it with the whole Jordan versus Nia thing. I feel like that was really, even though it was their episode, it kind of was your episode because finally, to me, we actually went to the after show and watched you guys live. We were in the audience watching you for that episode. And it was very interesting because then we had to start the season and we had already seen the four of you and seen the situation and kind of went in judging and actually rooting more for Jordan. And more so because of the things you were saying at the after show. You know, you kind of went in, they were all bantering back and forth and you kind of held your solid ground. It was weird, the interaction between you and Jordan, because you guys seem very like, I'm going to stay on this side of the couch, you stay on that side of the couch. But the fact that you could still stick up for him and, you know, kind of call everyone out on their bullshit. Even when Jordan had bullshit, you called everybody out.
And I feel like you were really calling out bullshit on Marlon. Or is it Marlon?
Marlon.
Yeah, Marlon's end.
Oh, yeah, when I called the reverse racism,
Yes.
that's completely out of the.
Yes.
No, I know. Listen, like the thing about that is that I was okay. I was extremely close with Nia. This is something that you do not see in the entire season, which is really sad.
We got to see a little bit tonight.
I wanted to see some moments of me and Nia.
We kind of saw that tonight.
A little bit.
Oh, sorry.
Well, Nia through the entire show was literally she was on my side. She was an extreme motivation for me. We started working with a studio, and she pushed me to sing and pushed me. She was wonderful to me and beautiful to me. And so the thing about it is that I saw a really good side in her, and then I saw this amazing side in Jordan, and I knew that from coming into the house. I knew Jordan. I knew that he was a good person. And here's another thing that you don't get to see, but if you pay attention, you'll see me say it, is Jordan reminds me a lot of my father with his stubbornness and the way that he is. He pushes other people and gets a little bit rowdy when he drinks too much. And
did you ever see him as a threat?
Go ahead.
Did you ever see Jordan? Did you ever see Jordan as a threat? Jessica would always say, "I'm scared of him. I don't know how he's going to react." Nia said the same things when he went into her room.
That was ridiculous. That was ridiculous. I'm sorry, and that's why I called Jessica out on it. And I was like, "Why the fuck are you making this a Jessica and Jordan thing?" Because that was absolutely ridiculous in my opinion.
I thought so too. I was like, he's not going to do nothing to nobody.
Jordan is. Listen, Jordan is all talk. If you tell Jordan you're going to hit him, he will say, fucking hit me, and he'll push you until you fucking hit him. Because Jordan likes people to follow through with their words. He likes people to follow through with their actions.
He's a button pusher.
Jordan is absolutely. And listen, it's definitely to a flaw where it irritates some people. But I saw something in Jordan that I wanted to tap into. I saw that he was a good person. And he was a good human being, and I wanted to get to know Jordan aside from what I was seeing, what I was hearing. And the thing about it is like our whole little blowout in the first episode, whatever, that thing was squashed like a day later, and you don't see that, of course. But like my whole when I asked Jordan to go out to lunch that day, this is when he talks to me about when he was considering suicide in his life. I told him I wanted to go out to lunch with him, and you should have seen the look on his face. Nobody in the house, nobody respected him in the house. No one talked to him in the house. And I couldn't believe it. I really couldn't believe it. And it wasn't because I was siding with Jordan or siding with Nia. It was really because I couldn't believe that not one person in the house was trying to understand his side of the situation. It really upset me.
How do you take the whole Nia versus Jordan thing? I mean, everyone obviously thought that Nia had feelings for Jordan. I personally felt like Jordan was attracted to you in the first episode. I felt like there was
we were saying
a little
that,
something there.
Yeah.
But with the whole with the whole Nia thing, I mean, you were so close to Nia. Was there ever a point where you ever kind of sat down with Nia and said, "Yo, leave Jordan alone. Like, he does these things.
Yes,
it's not small
multiple
dicks."
Times. multiple times. And I didn't say leave Jordan alone. I always took the stance because I did not want to influence anybody to where they didn't feel like they were consciously making their own decisions. So my thing is I would sit down with Naya, and she would vent to me about the Jordan situation, and I would tell her, listen, I don't think there's a side to Jordan that you haven't seen and that you don't know. And I told her this multiple times. That's why, honestly, like the last episode where she called in, it bugs me a little bit when she said that if Anastasia would have told me what was going on with Jordan, it would have ended sooner.
Oh yeah, she did stress that.
Because I was telling her. I was telling her a lot. I was telling her often. And I did. I sat down with her and I said, listen, I don't think it's the way that you're, I understand in certain situations why you're upset. Of course, you feel disgusting that he's called you gold-digging whore, and I don't attest to that. I don't think that's a good thing. I think it's terrible. And then in the same situation, I would tell Jordan, listen, there's a side to Naya that you don't understand. And I put the bug in both of their ears the entire time we were out there. And it was not Anastasia playing both sides. It was Anastasia. Listen, I understand situations to where both people can misunderstand each other, and I really wanted those two to talk. I wanted so desperately. I asked her so many times. I asked him so many times, please just go talk to her. Please just go talk to him. Please. Like, I'm telling you, it's not as bad and it's not as brutal as you guys are making this. You're both stubborn people. They're
Agreed.
both extremely stubborn people.
They probably would get along very well, actually, once they work.
Absolutely, and that's what I said to her, and that's what I said to him. I was like, you guys are really way too similar to be fighting like this. I don't know.
Yeah, well, I actually have another question. Okay, so obviously I got the wrong impression of you, as you've seen all my last episodes, okay? But I'm really actually understanding you a lot more this time now, talking to you, which is probably normal for everybody.
Right.
Now they understand. So I just want to get your input on Avery, because she's another one that I'm not a big fan of.
Yeah, Avery's just, I'm not a fan.
I want your opinion on her and how you really think she is, because to us it just seems like she's just so fake. Like,
well, and also we don't know, because if we were rooting for Avery too,
really
at the
liked
beginning,
her too, yeah.
But we feel, just personally watching the show, it comes off, I wish she wasn't in a relationship on the show. I love the two of them together. I think that they'll probably last for a very, very long time. But for the show, I feel like we don't get the full sense of Avery. Or
Johnny, either one of them.
So if you want to speak to that.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. First of all, I just want to say, like, I understand your bias, because I understand as a viewer, had I watched this entire season without having any knowledge of, because for me, I watch it as if I'm like, because I remember the 3 months. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I understand where you form opinions and where you form bias, because I would have done the same thing. So don't worry about it. Whatever. It's all good.
Okay.
So
okay.
Now on to Avery.
Okay, on to Avery. So Avery, the thing about Avery is, ... Avery is the sweetest girl. She really is. She's genuine. She's big-hearted. She really is a giant love bug. Avery has a problem with talking about and showing emotions, and
we definitely saw that today.
We did.
Extremely hard. It was extremely hard for her to come out and say things and get to know people, and I think it really wasn't Avery. I think it's more of the way that the things that Avery has dealt with in her past. She had an absolutely horrible mother who's done things to her daughter that I can't even imagine. I can't even put myself, and I didn't have a perfect childhood, but I can't even imagine the things that Avery was told when she was younger and the things she grew up with. And so she's very closed off, and and it's not because Avery is rude, or it's not because Avery is fake. It's because Avery likes to keep things to herself, and I can see where you guys would think that she's fake, but in reality, it's really that Avery, she needs to trust somebody before she comes out and tells them things and tells them situations. And that was the whole thing with this episode, where she cried in the confessional and was talking about how much I meant to her. Avery never told me that.
Right.
You know what I mean? So that to me, when I watched that on this episode, I was crying. Because Avery doesn't show emotions like a typical girl or a typical guy would. She's very closed off. And
would you say she's definitely grown a lot? Have you seen a lot of change in her?
I have. I've seen a lot of change in her. I think, she was more so. She observed a lot of people in a lot of situations, and I do think that she learned from it more than we know. I do think that, one thing about people is just because you're not a big talker doesn't mean that you're not growing and not listening and not understanding situations.
Right.
She just wasn't as open and vocal about things, but when you look back at her life and the way that her mother was and everything, she has a very hard time trusting people, and I can understand that. I've been in that situation. I know how she feels, and it's really not Avery being fake. It's really Avery she's careful.
Being closed
she's careful about her decisions.
Kind of keeping it all up.
It's crazy that this season has had a full cast of a whole bunch of people who have had some pretty rough and interesting pasts.
Yeah.
I think that's what makes it so entertaining to watch on TV. But I have we got to start wrapping up, but I have kind of like a random little question for you.
Okay.
Naya, was she screwed out of working at Pizza, even though you didn't work at Pizza Schmizza? But from what you know, do you think that they kind of played Naya with the whole job thing, or do you just think Naya really didn't want to work?
All right, I have two opinions on this situation. my first, the fact of the matter is yes, Naya had called in several times and they told her she was not on the schedule. That is a fact.
All right.
Okay, good.
She was not on the schedule. They had not told her to work, and when she tells you she called in 3 to 4 times, that is the truth. She called in multiple times. And they told her she wasn't on the schedule. Period. She was not on the schedule. So when she didn't show up for work and was fired, I personally think that was bullshit.
Yeah, so do we. Yeah.
She wasn't on the schedule. Yeah, absolutely. And in that situation, I would have felt upset too at that situation. You told me I wasn't on the schedule, and now you're saying I'm fired.
And they didn't even. They didn't even show the girl that,
where was that
she
chick
talked
at?
to. Yeah.
Jeez.
Shady.
I know.
Yeah, it shows the girl. It shows the girl telling her on the phone you're not on the schedule. That's the truth. She was not on the schedule. However, in Bird's life, in my style, I would not have handled it the way that Naya handled it.
I know. She put out all the Naya twist. What would Bird? You seem like you were just so good at getting to know people and understanding people. You probably would have brought the girl a donut and a coffee and said, "I'm so sorry."
I'm so sorry.
No, I would have gone up there and I would have said, all right, so I'm fired, but I wasn't on the fucking schedule. Like, what is this shit? I would have done that.
Were you ever jealous? Oh, go ahead.
Well, I think the line was drawn where, when she started to get into like, this is your 5 minutes, blah blah blah.
Yeah.
You know what though? I don't normally wouldn't agree with that, but in that situation, if I honestly felt like y'all really played me on TV and knowing that how I'm gonna look edited, I would definitely go in on them though. Honestly, were you ever jealous that you didn't get to work at the pizza shop though?
Yeah.
No. Hell fucking no. Are you kidding me? That's where all the fights broke out. That's where all the drama happened because they were drinking after the. No fucking way, dude. I was like, put me in the yogurt cart. Well,
in the yogurt cart.
Honestly, by month 2, because I was shoved in that yogurt cart with Jessica, and I was listening to 50 Shades of Grey.
Well, Bird, we got to start wrapping up, and I definitely want you to call in again. And if you're ever out in Cali, we want you to come on the show.
Yes, totally.
But please, you're a singer?
Yeah, I am, and I'm a good singer at that too.
Girl, I'm a rapper, so I want to hear your stuff.
Yeah. So where can we hear? I know you have a song. It's called "Fly."
That's my album cover because obviously Bird, it pertains to me.
Right. That's why I said fly girl.
So where can we look out for? Is your album released? When is it coming out? What kind of music is it?
I'm gonna have actually tonight. I'll have a 20-second preview on my first single. But my first single will be dropped Monday, and then
what's it called?
Shortly after that, my album will be dropped on iTunes.
What is your single called?
Fly.
It's called Lost Your Mind.
Lost Your
And is it like, what type of feel is it?
What kind of music is it? Pop, urban, R&B?
I would say R&B, hip hop.
Really? All right, Bird. Don't hurt nobody.
All right, Bird doing it up.
Wait, so where can we find it? On iTunes or?
Yes, absolutely, on iTunes.
Do you have
it'll
a website?
Be there. In the next couple weeks, it'll be there.
Do you have a website that that people can go to check it out?
I don't. But if you go to my Twitter, I'll be sending updates
And what's your Twitter handle?
My Twitter name is Queen Queen Birdness.
All right.
Queen Birdness. Well,
Nest?
Birdness.
Oh, Birdness.
Well, Bird, thank you so much for calling in.
Yes,
we appreciate
thank you.
it.
Yes.
We appreciate all of your honesty and being able to. I know it was a little rough at the beginning.
Now you have a special place in my heart.
I know, Bird. I'm Team Bird now. I changed.
That's what the real world is about.
Yes.
It's about watching people and being able to overcome.
Thank you for having the time to get to know me as a real person and not as an edited version.
We're going to forgive you for that red hat, girl.
Forgive you. Just don't wear it again.
No, we play.
Okay, no red berets in my future.
There we go. All right, guys, make sure you guys follow Bird at Queen Birdness on Twitter. Make sure you follow us at AfterBuzz TV on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and also download our podcast. Please help support us and get us to #1 by subscribing, rating us, and leaving us a comment. You can follow me on Twitter at DJ Jesse J.
You can follow me at sensei_DRC and check out my website, www.sensei.
And our new music video.
Yes, senseidon'tplay.com.
Love it. You can check me out at Drea Renee _N on Instagram and Twitter.
Y'all have a good
Until
night.
next week, same time, same place. Peace.
From
Bye, Felicia.
Bing.com, executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Bye, Felicia.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.